When we started with Francis, my questions kept piling up. By the time we finished with Anna, I have negative question. I don't know whether it's the same with you, but yes, this is the Q&A segment. We are grateful to our two panelists and presenters. It's been very insightful, starting with the demonstration of generation gap by Francis. In fact, when he said plus 65 or 60 plus should stand up, then I said yes. So in the African context, if we have a funeral now, we'll ask Dr. Bankole to lead the delegation. So yes, it's good to have a diverse generation matrix, if that's the right word, in your organization. So ladies and gentlemen, as well as our wonderful friends online, it's time for questions, contributions, and I see a hand up there already. So, and a second hand. We'll take the one at the back, and then we'll work our way forward.
All right. Thank you. My name is John, and I think I'm impressed with our mommy, if I should say it that way, because we have a classical case of someone who entered into the organization almost 30 years ago and saw where she would be exiting, and she has carried herself through. So maybe I'll see you afterwards.
Now they call me Auntie Anna.
Okay. So we have a classical case in our institution where someone who entered into an organization and have stayed in the organization as a receptionist just as she entered, and next year she's going on retirement. So I know what I'm talking about, and I think you deserve a clap for that, carrying yourself through that particular as L&D. So my question is, as L&D professionals, do you have any, or it can go to both facilitators, any specific activities or actions that you would advise us to implement? If it has to be, let's say, a singular training program, how do we classify the trainings to address the various expectations of the various age groups that we have in our organization? If you have any specific advice you can give to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Anna will.
So what happens is that, when you want to build capacity of staff, you should be sure of their level of knowledge, the level of skills that they already have. Otherwise, you may just keep repeating what they know. So immediately our staff come on board, we try to do a needs assessment. And we actually firm that up during our appraisal process, where we have discussions with them to find out what is it that they know, what's their background, what else would they want to add on top of that. And then what we also try to do is to strictly monitor, on a very regular basis, what capacity building somebody is going through within the institution. So when we have opportunities to train people, then we know that, this person needs this kind of training, and then we target it towards that person. So that is how we do the monitoring and evaluation. If people have gone through a specific kind of training, we don't repeat it, but we build on top of what they already know. So that's how we do it. So we have records on that. What training has this person already undergone, and what additional training would they need to undergo? I hope I've answered the question. Their age, of course. Most of these opportunities even come with age limits, especially with JICA. They will tell you if the person is above this age, the person cannot really go through that training. So this serves as a guide. But of course, we also know our institutional needs. We know what a person who has just come on board, really needs, what would be helpful for them. So that also guides us in the way we select people for capacity building activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Christian.
Okay, thank you both for the presentations. Let me start with Francis. I believe you are stereotyping, and I'm worried about that, especially for those you refer to as Gen Zs. The reason is that if you look at our continent today, 2/3 of those that are probably going to be in the workforce may fall around that, between Gen Zs mostly, and then maybe the millennials. In fact, the generation gap in my university is about 50 years. 50 years. And so you have all mix that you can get. And I tell you, I have benefited from relationship with those type of people. At this conference, people ask me for my card, and I said I don't have. And then I show them the QR code. And I see that they are fidgeting because they don't know how to download QR codes. Now, I used to be like that a couple of years ago, until my Gen Zs told me, sorry, you need to be careful about the environment. You can't continue to carry cards. We're going to give you QR codes. So myself, NECA, everybody in my organization, they now have QR codes. And when we give it to you, and we just laugh because we know more than half will fumble. Now that is the value that these people bring to the table. And I don't want us to walk away without understanding that there is real value that these people bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Bankley. I understand your point, and if you remember, I said that we shouldn't look at them as in a general group, but the individual. Now, being erratic and always on the lookout for something new, it's a particular trait exhibited on the average by Gen Zs. So what I was trying to say is that for you to have them, we should focus and plan on something that will always excite them, which is the new thing. What is they like? They're inquisitive. I'm not like saying, okay, we should do away with them because they are not going to stay, but rather we should have it at the back of our mind that, okay, after this period of thing, there should be new training, new innovation for them to try their hands, and that keeps them awake and, we want to. It's about the culture of the place and also the value of that individual. It's not the general stuff. It's just on there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think learning continues in our room here. Thank you, Doc. Yes, Christian. Yes. Okay. They want you to be seen, so you have to come and face the camera. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I have two specific questions. The first one is concerning one practice that is currently being done at the level of GEA. By the way, I'm Christian Elonge. I'm the CEO of Cabot Group, an e-learning consulting firm. So my question is about the practice of prayer, which you mentioned. And my concern was basically at the level of inclusion or exclusion. So when you are having such prayer session, does it mean that all the team is Christian? So if that's the case, are you excluding Muslim from joining your organization? How do you mingle to have a corporate environment where religion is not a limiting factor? The second question I will have is concerning the aspect of building capacity. You indicated that it's essential to ensure that there is continuous growth. So my question is, how do you create and sustain a learning desire? Because I often realize that sometimes staff, or team members at various levels, depending on what they work on, sometimes they are very motivated, they want to learn. Sometimes also it looks like, you may even push it into their mouth, they will not swallow. So how do you ensure that within the team there is a hunger for learning? Yes. How do you maintain it? Thank you.
Thank you, Christian.
So there's a question about prayer. How do we ensure inclusiveness? I mean, we can't force anybody to pray against their wish. And we try to encourage people to join those sessions. But of course, we don't get everybody joining. So we have Muslims, we have Christians. These are Christian prayer sessions. But once we find that they are Muslims, we give them the opportunity also to pray. You know, for all our meetings, we'll normally start with a Christian prayer and then we'll end with a Muslim prayer or vice versa. So that is how we try to also bring them on board. We used to have it in person, now we go virtual. So wherever you are, I mean, you have the choice, the choice of really joining or not. So that is how we do it. And then creating the hunger for capacity building. You know, when you challenge people, then of course they are also motivated to build their capacity, to enable them deliver. So that is what we try to do. We always have that space for people to innovate, bring up new ideas, which require new skills. For instance, we realize that when people leave our institution, they go with the knowledge. So then we instituted this training about knowledge management. How do we manage the knowledge? How do we ensure that institutional memory is kept alive? So that when new people come, they are exposed. How do we document it? How do we put it on an LMS so that they can just, link in and learn, with technology, assisting them. So this is how we do it. We are challenging ourselves all the time. Now we have so many projects. All of us are busy. Sometimes we don't even sleep. So for you to really be able to keep up, you need to build your capacity. And that is what we try to do to get them hungry to learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. In the interest of inclusion, as our CEO brother just said, we have some 2 questions online. We'll take those and then we'll take, it's time for the next session also, which I'm still the moderator. So you have to pardon me. So let's take the 2 questions online and then her question, and then we'll wrap up or close the session.
Yes, please. The first question came during Francis' session, and Yvonne Redu probably wanted to find out. She said, could you please clarify the employee value proposition again? And the next question, I think it's a general question. Emilia Ketcher, she said, how do you earn the respect of the older generation when you are a younger manager in charge of the team? Thank you.
Thank you. So let's take, can we have your question? Then we'll answer all 3 at once.
So it's similar to the last question. I wanted to find out, have you had any situation where you have a younger manager, because you're talking about motivating people to learn, and Dr. Bakole said that we have millennials with very good experiences. So what if somebody goes to school, gathers all the experience, is very knowledgeable, and you think that this person can manage, but then you have somebody who has risen through the ranks with experience? How do you juggle between these two? Do you want to get a younger person that can move the organization forward? And what is the respect for that younger person? Would we have that grudgingly because somebody has risen through the ranks and has experience from working? How would you manage that? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So 2 main areas. I think one is to do with the value proposition, which I believe Francis will handle. And then how do you manage a young CEO? If what I heard is right, then the CEO of GE went into the job unmarried, and she married on the job, right? So you earn it.
All right, thank you so much for this question. Value proposition has to do with you as a manager or as a LED personnel looking into what an individual values. As we are sitting here, most people don't accept job based on gross pay anymore. Now, people tend to look out for opportunities to learn new things, build networks, have time for their life and their family. So when someone is coming up, or when you want to do a training, you should be able to identify. You can actually ask the person in form of 3-4 simple questions. You can formulate of what do you value most, or what do you look out for in a project, in a job. So by having such idea, you should be able to know if the person actually fits in, or whatever you're designing in terms of training, or even the job description would allow you to move ahead. You're just knowing what she wants, what he wants, and what I want, what I value most. That is what we are trying to say by evaluating the value proposition of your employee or prospective worker. So what does the person give time for and every other thing? It goes above gross pay or the opportunity to grow. Most people don't look at those ones. Yes, but if you look at different generations, some will say it's about the pay, some will say it's about the holiday and the rest of it. So when you have this set of values, you have to find a way to integrate it to be appealing to all the generations. Thank you.
So the issue is, how do we juggle between experience, and a young person with not that much experience really becoming your superior? I think that in this part of the world, you really don't have a choice. Whoever is brought to you, you make up your mind that you will work with the person and make things happen. But I should be very, very honest with you. When our CEO joined us, this was in 2016 with the change of government, we were all wondering, because the earlier CEOs were older, and it was easy for us really to give them that respect because, of course, they were old and we thought that they come with experience and all of that. So when this one came, we were a little skeptical. We wanted really to wait and see what happens. But what we did, which was good, was that we decided that it was the institution which mattered. So it didn't really matter who was leading. We would give the person all the support. And she also did very well. She tried to bring all of us into the net. And that is why we are where we are today. We realized she also had a lot of experience in the field. Because she's a Harvard student, she's worked in banking, in finance, she had worked on entrepreneurship projects. So when we realized that we really knew that we had somebody of value, so it was just a matter of rallying behind her and making things happen. And we are so happy we did because of the results that we are seeing today. So it's a matter of, looking at what the person brings on board and how you can also support the person, to get things done. I think that's the most important part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and to all our wonderful participants online. It's been a very interesting conversation. Bottom line, you need diversity in your workplace, and generational diversity, well harnessed, will definitely deliver the performance, the growth, and the, let me use the word, business resilience that you need to survive. So on that note, we'll say thank you very much, and can we all join the plenary session downstairs? Thank you.